Thank you very much. Good morning. I have to always say that when anyone introduces me and says that I've been in this teaching for over 40 years, they fail to mention that I was 4 when I started. Just thought I needed to say that to you. Put things in perspective here. Let's take a breath together. You know, many years ago, I was a practitioner student at the Agape Center in Los Angeles with the Reverend Michael Beckwith. And I was also still practicing law at that time, and busy life. So consistently with my way of doing things, I had waited to the last minute this one day to get some papers filed in Pasadena. So I had to race out to the Pasadena court. Okay, that's not gonna work. Race out to the Pasadena court to file some papers before they closed. And it was pouring rain, and I raced out there, and I got there 5 minutes before the court closed, and I got my papers filed, and I raced back out to the car, and it was pouring rain, and I was trying to get into the car, and I turned to get into the car, and as I did, my knee didn't turn with me. It was a real ouch. So somehow I managed to get into the car and to drive back into LA and to do the rest of the things I had to do before I went to the emergency room with my knee being by that time the size of my head. So the doctor said that I had a torn meniscus and would need to have arthroscopic surgery to repair it. And I said, no, not going to do that. So I decided I would do, in addition to my spiritual work and prayer and all that good stuff, I would go to acupuncture and several other holistic ways of healing this knee. Now, torn meniscus needs to be repaired, but I thought that I could do it my way. So I refused the surgery, and time passed, and I was on crutches for a while, and then I was able to walk again, but I was limping a lot or at times, and my movement was restricted quite a bit. And time passed. I left LA, moved to Ohio without having that meniscus repaired. And by the time I got to Ohio, I was there for a while, saw another ortho, and the other meniscus was torn. So I had bilateral menisci tears. Surgery? Nope, not going to do that. You know, I had looked up in Louise Hay's Heal Your Body, what knee means. And it means pride, a stubborn ego and pride, and inflexibility. Well, I thought, you know, out of all the years I've been looking at Louise Hay, I never saw where something was so wrong. That doesn't apply to me. Inflexibility, I'm the most flexible person I know. So I didn't have the surgery. And time passed, and by this time I needed to have a knee replacement. Nope, not going to do that. So a couple of more years passed, and I finally scheduled a knee replacement surgery. And the week before surgery, I changed my mind. I decided I didn't want to do that. That healing could happen in a way that was other than what the doctor said needed to happen. I knew that this wasn't what needed to happen for me. Meanwhile, I moved back to California, then I moved back to Ohio, then I moved back to California again. Now, my movement had become more and more restricted. My activities became more and more restricted. My knee controlled my life more and more. Because I had to think ahead. Where was I going to go? Were there going to be stairs? Was I going to have to stand? How long would I have to stand? Would I have to wait for a long time? What was going to happen with my back? Because by this time I had thrown my body out of alignment. And Louise Hay was still talking about inflexibility. And I was still trying to figure out how could they make that misprint? Because that could not apply to me, being inflexible. I'm the most flexible person. Well, fast forward, back to California, I'm living. By this time, I'm living in a house that had 17 steps up to my bedroom. So, you do the step one step at a time. One step at a time, one step at a time. Come down one step at a time. Sometimes you just don't come down at all. Just stay in bed or whatever. And one Sunday I went to Oakland to speak at a church there, and I was just before the second service, I was in the prayer circle with the practitioners. And as we were standing there, I felt a crunch, and my body kind of did something. And I knew that it was my knee on its last cartilage or whatever, on its last leg. And I'm thinking, this doesn't feel good at all. So I stood and did the second service. I had a workshop after that. I had to drive back from Oakland to Santa Cruz after that. And I knew then that I had to give up the fight. I had to give up my resistance. I had to have knee surgery. And so I did. My decision was made. I have to have knee surgery. I know that once I make this decision, I had told my daughter about it, and she said, "Who's going to do the surgery?" I said, I don't know. But I know that now that I've made the decision, the right surgeon for me will appear. God will provide everything I need. I'll have all the support I need. And sure enough, as I went along and was in a particular place, heard the name of a surgeon, as soon as I heard his name, I knew that this was a surgeon for me. I went to him. He did the surgery. Easy peasy, 2 days in the hospital, pain meds. When I got home, I took Excedrin. On my feet, walking within the next week to 10 days, going upstairs up those 17 steps and coming down, physical therapy. Everything was perfect. Everything was perfect. And when I began to think about Louise Hay and inflexibility and giving up the resistance that I had for so long, I realized that I had finally moved from disability to possibility. From disability to possibility. From disability, all those years, and I'll tell you now, it was 22 years. 22 years. Now, they weren't awful years, but they certainly were restricted years. My life was quite restricted during that time and became more and more so during that time. But my topic today is from disability to possibility, moving from disability to possibility, and how often we are in our lives looking at life through the lens of disability. And disability can be any kind of challenge, any kind of limitation, any kind of restriction that we find ourselves involved in. Let's take a breath. People who know me call me the breath police. That's because I invite you to breathe a lot so that I can breathe along with you. But the whole idea of restrictions and living from that place is consistent with the notion that the way we see the world is the way we live in the world. The way we see the world is the way we live in the world. The way we see the world, when we see the world through the eyes of disability, we live in the world through that lens. When we can see the world through the eyes of possibility, that's where we live from. That's where we live from. You know, Ernest Holmes says the perception of wholeness is the consciousness of healing. The perception of wholeness is the consciousness of healing. When we can perceive wholeness, then we're in that consciousness of healing. Not the consciousness for healing, the consciousness of healing. The perception of wholeness, when we can perceive wholeness, when we can look beyond the appearance to the truth, which is what we are constantly doing when we're doing spiritual mind treatment. We're looking beyond the appearance to the truth. We're looking beyond what we see to the truth. We're looking beyond facts to the truth. And so when we can do that, we're in that consciousness of healing. And even though I thought I was doing that all those years with my knee, I wasn't really doing that. I didn't have the consciousness for the kind of healing that I wanted to have. We cannot experience something we don't have the consciousness for. We can't experience something we don't have the mental equivalent for. I didn't have the mental equivalent of that kind of healing. That's not to say the healing could not have happened. It's just that it couldn't have happened for me because I wasn't in alignment with that. I wasn't in alignment with that kind of miraculous healing that needed to happen for me, that kind of miracle that I wanted to have happen in my life. I wasn't in alignment with that. And so often we are in that place of separation, and that takes me to what I always say, because I always believe that the only thing that ever needs to be healed is our sense of separation from God. The only thing that needs to be healed is our sense of separation from God, our sense of separation from God, because we can never be separate from God, because we are made in the image and likeness and out of God itself. We are one with God. And so when we can stay in that place of knowing that truth, then we can move into the place of perceiving wholeness so that we can be in the consciousness of healing. In the consciousness of healing. That's where we want to always be, in the consciousness of healing. So that requires us to live the first 2 steps of treatment. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. First 2 steps of treatment. When we can live in that place, when we can live in alignment with that truth, when we can know that truth, then everything else falls into place. Everything else falls in line. Everything else unfolds perfectly. And what we have to do is give up our attachment to what that perfection looks like. Give up our attachment to what healing looks like. Give up our attachment to how things are going to be. Breath. Thank you. You know, this month, Reverend Jill is talking about the values factor. The values factor. Dr. DeMartini says that when we can live from a place of our when we can live our lives according to our highest values, then we live an inspired and fulfilled life. When we live our lives living our lives from a place of our highest values is the secret to living an inspired and fulfilled life. Living our lives from the place of our highest values. Our highest values. Our highest values, those things that are really important to us. Those things that are consistent with who we are our highest values. He describes our highest values as the activities and relationships that nourish our inner being. Those activities and relationships that nourish the deepest parts of us, our inner being. Those are our highest values. Those are the values that we can live from when we are in oneness and alignment with the all that is, in oneness and alignment with the source of our being. And we have values that are not so high. We have lower values also. Our values, he says, determine our challenges, our disabilities, if you will, and I'm calling disabilities and challenges the same thing. Voids, he also calls them. Voids and challenges and disabilities are those things that determine our values. They determine the values that we're living from. When I was dealing with the disability of my knee, my values were, I'm going to do this my way. I am not going to let anyone else tell me what to do. I'm flexible. I'm going to do it like I want to. And I don't care what those doctors say. Those were my values. And that's how I lived my life. And that was the experience that I got. Not a very fulfilled life, because I was so restricted in so many things that I wanted to do, so many things I was unable to do. There were a lot of things that I did. I went to 2 different seminaries and was ordained at both. And as I said, I moved across country 4 times. I didn't even mention the 5th time that I moved, but but I did all that. And I wonder, what more would I have done? What more could I have done? What other possibilities would have been available to me had I been open and available and free and in alignment, in total alignment with my highest values? I always thought that my highest value was freedom. that freedom was what I valued the most, what was the most important to me. That's sort of an ideal. That's an idealistic view. What does freedom mean? I thought that freedom was the highest value. But was it really when I was allowing myself to live in such a restricted manner? Was it really when I was allowing myself to be limited in so much? Was it really when I was allowing myself to be closed off from that guidance and that direction that was available to me if I had just been willing to open up and receive it? Ernest Holmes says, know that there is an intelligence to which we may come for inspiration, for guidance, for direction. A power responding to us, a presence pressing against us, an animation flowing through us, a light within us. Know that there is an intelligence to which we may come, not to which we may go. Not to which we may go, because then that implies separation. He says, know that there's an intelligence to which we may come. An intelligence to which we may come. To which we may come. For inspiration, for guidance, for direction. There's an intelligence to which we may come. That's returning home unto ourselves, returning home unto that one of which we are a part, that one in whose image and likeness we are made, that one that is always available to show us, to guide us, that one that is always present, always available, always. God is always. I like that. God is always. And when we can keep that in mind and we live in that place of knowing, and as I said, we're looking beyond the appearance of whatever is going on to the truth that God is always. And that these things that happen, these challenges that come up, these restrictions, these disabilities that come up are variables. They're the variables. There'll be one disability after another, one challenge after another, one problem after another, one issue after another. Those are variables. The only changeless is God. The only changeless, the only constant is God. And when we are in alignment with that which is constant, that which is changeless, then all things are made new. All kinds of possibilities come up. All kinds of possibilities are available to us. And so I invite you to kind of think about. I invite you to think about where you are being restricted in your own life. I invite you to think about the values that you're living your life from today. Are they your highest values? The very highest values? Those that nourish our souls, those that nourish our inner being? Are we living our lives organized around those values? You know, that's consistent. Our highest values are consistent with our purpose for being here. We all have the same purpose for being here, to be revealers of God's love. That's what we're here for. We're here to be revealers of God's love, and we are to reveal God's love according to our own uniqueness, according to who we are, according to our own individuality. And it's those are the values that we tap into when we are focusing our attention on living from our highest values. Then we're living according to who we are, according to who we were created to be. And when we're not living from that place, we're not living from our highest values. And when we're not living from our highest values, then there's work for us to do. There's more work for us to do. When we're not living from our highest values, we are required to stretch, to do more, to go deeper, to see the truth more, to uncover that wholeness that we cannot see. to uncover whatever it is that is blocking us from being at one, from being in alignment with the all that is. And so I think that as we go through looking at what am I here to do? How am I to express God's love? What is it that really floats my boat? What is it that really makes me happy? What is it that makes my heart sing? What is it that really speaks to me? What is it that lets me know that I am in alignment, I am in the flow, I am moving forward, my life is just going full speed ahead? I'm at one with the all that is, I'm at one with that intelligence, and doors are opening, and I am just moving and moving and moving and moving and moving in alignment. How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? First of all, we have to stop and look at where we are now. What's the restriction? What's the challenge? What is the challenge? There's value in the challenge. There's value in whatever challenge there is, because there's so many lessons for us to learn. There's value in the challenge because challenges are blessings in disguise. This knee thing was a blessing in disguise. And boy, did I milk it for 22 years. So many lessons I learned during that time. But the biggest lesson I learned was after it was over. And I thought, I didn't have to go through all that. But then I did. I did. Because I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I did learn. I wouldn't have had the experiences that I did have. And I wouldn't have done the work that I did do. Because it took work for me to get to the place where I could see that I was being inflexible, that Louise Hay was right after all. It took work. It took a lot of spiritual work. It took a lot of changing. It took a lot of growth. It took a lot of willingness to be different. It took a lot of willingness to live my life differently. It took a lot of willingness to give up my resistance. It took a lot of willingness for me to give up my attachment to what freedom looks like. Because I now live in a place where I have 17 steps again to go upstairs. And I go up those steps and down those steps and up and down those steps 2, 3, 4 times a day. It took a lot of willingness for me to get to that place. And so, when we are looking at living our lives from the highest values, what does that mean for you? What are your highest values? What really speaks to your heart? What's really important to you? And how much time are we spending doing those things that are not important, or living our lives from those places that are not important, those lower values? There are still times I find that I'm living my life from a place of, I can manage this, I can control this, I know how this works. From a place of no, I think no is my default position. Because oftentimes my first response is, nope, I'm not going to do that. And then I think, okay, maybe I will. And I think that when you recognize what your default position is, then you can be you're recognizing where you are, first of all. This is where I am. No judgment, no shame, no blame. Just an acknowledgement of this is where I am. Now, is this where I want to be? Is this the place from which I can express God to the fullest, or allow God to express itself through me to the fullest? Is this the place where God's love can just really show up as me? If not, what do I need to do that's different? How do I need to be different? What do I need to release? What do I need to let go? What blocks do I need to let go? And then when we start to recognize those things, having the willingness to then do the work, having the willingness to do, as I said, move into alignment, go back to the first and second steps of treatment. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. Going back to that, there's only one life. I am in alignment with that one life. That life is my life. And then once we get anchored in that, then we can move forward. We can move forward. We can move forward into the possibilities, because once we are in alignment with the all that is, possibilities abound. And that's how we start to move from disability to possibility. By opening our hearts, opening our minds. Yes, this is where I am. No, this is not where I have to stay. Yes, I can move, and I'm willing to do that because I know that I am moving forward, walking in the direction of what it is I want, walking in the direction of my highest values, walking in the direction of being that place and space through which God's love can reveal itself. Maybe as a teacher, maybe as a doctor, maybe as a mother, maybe as a father, maybe as a stay-at-home person, maybe as whatever it is you do, however it is you show up in the world, however it is you do your life. It's how God is showing up through you, as me, and according to our own uniqueness. That is what is so awesome. That is what is so awesome. That is what is so awesome. There was a quote in the Values Factor book that says that we all have a series of great opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. We all have a series of great opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. We all have them. A series of great opportunities, possibilities, and they're brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. And when we come face to face with those impossible situations, then the thing we have to do is to look beyond the appearance to the truth. Look beyond the appearance to the truth. Look beyond what we are seeing to what we know to be true. That God indeed is all there is. God indeed is the only power. God indeed is the only presence. God indeed is the only mind. God indeed is the only breath. And God is right here, right now, right where I am. Right in the midst of everything that's going on. Right in the midst of every person with whom I am engaging. When we can come back to that truth, then we get to the place where we can start to live from the place of our highest values. So acknowledging where we are, acknowledging the challenges that are constantly coming up, and just say, oh, another challenge. Now what do? I move back into alignment. I don't move until I know. That's an agape song. I don't move until I know that I walk in the love of God. I will not move until I know that I walk in the love of God. I will not move until I know that I'm in alignment and I can walk from that place of inner guidance and direction. And then when we can do that, we are allowing ourselves to be pulled by vision rather than pushed by pain. Michael Beckwith always said that pain pushes until vision pulls. Pain pushes until vision pulls. I let that pain of my knee push me for 22 years before my vision of freedom could pull me forward. Before God's vision of itself as freedom in my life could pull me forward, because I wasn't open to that vision pulling me. So when we can open up and allow ourselves to be pulled by God's vision for itself as each of us, because God knows exactly how it wants to express to each one of us, knows exactly how it wants to show up through and as each one of us. God already knows that. And when we move into alignment with it and say yes and open up to it, then it just comes right through. And all kinds of things happen. All kinds of changing happens. All kinds of healing happens. All kinds of healing happens. The only thing we have to be aware of is that we can't be attached to what healing looks like. Sometimes healing is not pretty. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it looks ugly. Sometimes it feels awful. Just think about the physical body. Think about if you get an owie or something on your hand, or you have surgery or whatever. During the healing process, it may turn black and blue and purple and orange and get ugly and messy and pussy and all that stuff. That doesn't mean that healing's not happening. It really doesn't. It just means this is the way it looks on that. This is the appearance. But knowing in the midst of this mess, wholeness is. If you're looking at a scar on your body, if you're looking at a wound on your body, just think about that. And you're looking at the not so prettiness of it, and you're looking at the pain and all that other stuff that goes along with it, and there's nothing you can do from the outside that's going to make it heal, that's going to make it better. Healing happens from the inside out. Healing happens from the inside out. You may put some things on it to make it feel better, but healing happens from the inside out. And if there's a cut on your hand, think about how it heals. It heals from the inside out. That's how healing happens in our lives. It happens from the inside out. And so being willing to allow, as I said, ourselves to be pulled by vision, by God's vision for itself as us, is the way we get to that place of living from a place of our highest values. Living from a place of disability into possibility. Once we're in that place of possibilities, then it's no holds barred. It's the sky's the limit. It's the sky's the limit. It's the sky's the limit. And so I invite you to let go of the resistance. Let go of the attachments. Let go of the unwillingness to change. Let go of the no's and open up to the possibilities that our highest values have to offer us. And watch our lives take off in a way that we cannot even imagine. God bless you. Let's take a breath together as we just turn within in this moment, turning within to that place in which we know and sense and feel the presence of God, knowing that this presence of God is the only presence, the only power, the only life, the only breath. I choose to call it God, but by whatever other name we call it, it is the source of our being. This onlyness that is God is my very life. This onlyness that is God is the life of each of us here this day. And so it is from this place of awareness that I speak this word for each of us this day. Speaking a word of wholeness, knowing that that wholeness is being revealed in each and every life here this day and within the sound of my voice and everywhere. This wholeness is being revealed no matter what the appearance may be on this planet. This wholeness is being revealed. This wholeness is within everything. And so we see the world through the eyes of wholeness. We look at the world through the eyes of wholeness, through our own wholeness, and through the eyes of wholeness that is God itself. And as we do so, healing begins to happen in every area of our lives as we are willing to release the disabilities, to release the challenge, to give thanks for the challenge, for opening our eyes to the possibilities, opening our eyes to the possibilities of pure love and joy and trust and peace and harmony and balance and forgiveness and compassion and harmony and all the qualities of God abounding in our lives, all the qualities of God that just show up and are possibilities for each and every one of us, and each and every day, in each and every way. So I give great thanks for the opportunity to speak this word of healing for us this day, knowing that healing happens as we open up, as we release attachment to what it looks like and just allow it to happen in our lives. And so as I open this circle of prayer this morning, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer today. You may speak them silently or aloud, but you may speak them now. Sure. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right in the midst of everything that is going on. God is right where each of them is, blessing and keeping them, healing them. The healing is happening in each and every life. This prayer goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day. You know, in the midst of every situation and circumstance, God is. I speak a special word of blessing for Reverend Jill, just knowing that right where she is, the power and the presence of God is blessing and keeping her, lifting her up, just as God lifts up all of us. And so I just say thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you, infinite presence. Thank you, Divine Mother. And I just allow it to be now. And so it is.